welcome to the Next Level Live. I appreciate you joining us, coming off of a phenomenal convention. For those of you that were there, thank you very much. For those of you that maybe just joined us or weren't able to make it, good news is we'll do it again in a year. To go through our chronologically, like what we had in attendance, I mean, let's just say we started our first event 5 years ago with a couple hundred people, and we had over 1,700 in Vegas. So by far the biggest event we've had. Probably close to a double from last year, Mike. I mean, close, right? Yeah, I mean, so for us, a pretty inordinate growth. And I think the best thing for me was the training. That's what we do it for. I mean, Tom Hegna was outstanding, right? Like, he was unbelievable. I mean, the lead, if you haven't seen it, when are we going to get those videos out, Mike, and some of the stuff that we have for?
A few weeks.
So a few weeks we'll have the breakout session, some videos from the lead seminar. I mean, that, like, it's kind of funny. Conrad said it to me, Conrad Pawlowski, he said, you know what's funny, when we first started this event, the annual convention, the lead seminar, Mike, was kind of like, well, we did it, but it was like after all the training, right? We did it early, but it was like, hey, let's add this in. And now he's like, that phone script stuff and what they were talking about with the leads was some of the best training that we had the entire weekend. So we're also going to do in-home next year too. We've had some people that said, hey, listen, outstanding. I'd love to see some more in-home, maybe some role play. So we're going to do that. We got some phenomenal people. We'll have some that you've heard from, and then some newer agents. I think that was a big part of the lead seminar too, is just hear the agents in there. Some have been around for a couple months, just talking about the way they approach leads. Just how serious they're about it, and how they weren't deterred from whatever the client said didn't matter. How they were avoiding objections and dealing with them, and how they're booking so many appointments. EverQuote's been unbelievable. We've obviously had a lot of people that are already using it. We come back from convention, that's gone through the roof. There's phenomenal deals, and a lot of you are already aware of all that. And we have our phenomenal pricing, which has been great for Family First Life. Facebook leads, and we've heard a lot about the secure agent leads, not just the final expense, but also the mortgage leads. That's been great. John Hancock's been released. So, I mean, you can write the product, Mike. Like, you can go on, and I mean, we've had people that are just talking about looking at the Vitality platform. We're talking about how amazing that really is and what it does for the clients. That's been great. It's a great name, great company. They were there in full force, so we appreciate them. And obviously, Americo's 8%. Our goal is to hit 50 million paid with Americo this year and get 4 million and 8% bonuses given out to agents. Wouldn't it be awesome to have 4 million additional dollars after the agent's been paid for selling, paid if it's an override, paid if it's a renewal on that product, and then also have that money given out extra. So phenomenal. ReliaShield, they were at the training. We've had a lot of folks that have come back and said, hey, I need identity theft protection. I should have it anyway, and I wouldn't mind getting paid on what I'm doing and getting paid every year as we're moving on. It's like, I love when Tom Hegna said that. Oh, you don't like annuities, huh? Well, call the Social Security Department and tell them to stop sending you a check. Like, that's a form of annuity. Call your pension, your old company, tell them to stop sending that. That's a form of annuity. So many things that I got out of it. The speakers were unbelievable. So really just appreciate what everybody did, and I want to kind of move off of that to what we have some phenomenal training here, and I'll turn it over to those folks in a minute, but really just focused on what 19 looks like for you. Now we're a month and a week in or so. I mean, really the year's yours. It really hasn't. I mean, it started, but you're here, you're present. It's really just one of those things that what's great about being an independent contractor is you have complete control of it. But what the magic is for me is getting up that hill. Like, when I started and got my license, it was selling 6, 7, 8 grand a month, 9, then maybe you go down. So it was, how fast can I get to that $20,000 a month? I think once you get that $20,000 a month and you're consistent in it, when you saw the amount of people that we gave awards to, it's funny when I was telling Americo where we're starting, they're like, God, that's, first of all, great, recognize many people want, but my goodness, they couldn't believe that some of these people, I saw some of the posts people put up, and they're like, I wrote 200, I think it was Chadwick was one of them, I issued X amount, and I was still this number in the company. Like, he'd been number one in a lot of, or most companies out there, so, which is great to have, that many people that are working that hard to protect that many families. But really just to sit back and figure out, as we're moving forward, what is it you're going to do differently? And I'll say this for a few minutes here, and then pass it over to Andrew and some of his folks. What I've learned about business is when you can get great at the little things, I'll give you a few little things. If you're great at them, 2019 will be the best. I mean, I don't know your histories, but will probably be the best financial year you've ever had. And I know that a lot of times we look for something that's got to be so deep. Like, everything's got to be so deep, or somehow we don't feel gratified in doing so. I mean, I think that's the thing about sports. I mean, I think the guys or girls, for that matter, play basketball. The ones that realize that shooting thousands of free throws a week Well, it may not be the most glorifying thing in the world. If you can do it, and you hold yourself to task, and it may not be the most amazing thing in the world to do, but you'll become great at it. It's just repetition. And for us, I think a big part of what we do, we've been talking about this in smaller groups coming out of the convention, is we kind of got a lot of folks committed to getting up in the morning at 5 a.m., right? Like if you could just get up at 5 a.m. every morning, and then some people go, well, I get up at 5 a.m. sometimes, I have this to do, with the kids, but I mean, if it was just, you were 7 days a week, get up at 5 o'clock. First of all, when you start getting up, it becomes habit, right? It's power of habit, you can do it. But if you could just imagine hitting the ground running in the day, I think a lot of independent contractors, if we could peel away the onion and look at how many hours they work, a big part of that would start with where they're at in the morning. And I also think that starts with routine. When you have a job, you have worth in the morning. Like when you're employed, your alarm clock goes off, you go in, right? You get ready for work, whatever that is whatever that includes for you, whether that takes a half an hour or 2 hours, I don't know. But you have some kind of validation every morning when you get out of bed. You've got somewhere to go. And then the weekends, usually folks that are, employees don't. So I think that's a struggle too with a lot of the people who become independent contractors. It's because they don't have to be. See, that's the thing. You go, well, I don't have to be at anywhere. I'm like, I do. I'm an independent contractor. The minute I got my license and the minute I quit my job, I absolutely had to be somewhere at a certain period of time. See, I never spoke about my independence as a contractor differently than I did my job. I was very gratified, but I loved what I had, and I appreciate the fact that I was independent. But I never said, like people said to me, well, I don't have to be anywhere, it's hard. No, you do. This is your job. So that was, me, it was a thought process, it was a mindset. I believed that I had to be somewhere by 7 a.m. working. Whether that was dialing the phone down the street, at a park or at a library, whether it was going to an office by 7 a.m., whether it was working on my pending business. Some of you work well at home. If you do, fine, but you have to be very honest with yourself. If you're not selling 20 grand plus a month and you're full time and you work out of your house, my hypothesis is you don't work well out of your home. That's probably a good way to measure that. If you're knocking out 30, 40, 50 grand a month and you're selling and you're making money and if you want to build a team and you're building a team and you're profitable enough to help them out and you work out of your house, keep doing it. All the power to you. You go, well, that's not good for people. No, if it's working for somebody, let them do it. Just because it wasn't good for me doesn't mean it won't be good for you. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself that. So I was somewhere by 7 a.m. every day ready to work. Whatever you're doing for your reading, you're working out, whatever it is, I was ready to go. And I think there's a big part of that. I was talking to a guy when I was in real estate. I said, Frank, you get up every morning when you put on a suit. Every morning, no matter if you have showings or not, appointments, you're in the office, phone duty. And he said, Sean, it just makes me feel like I'm a real businessman. I get up early, I get changed, I'm ready to go, I'm dressed for the day. And I was funny because I'm like, I became an independent contractor to stop wearing ties. That was also part of it too. I didn't mind getting up in the morning, but I want to get rolling. How quickly are you working? And then during your day, track yourself for the next 2 weeks. Truly chronicle the hours you're working. Truly. Like, I started at 7 a.m., I went till night. If you didn't do anything for 2 hours, you didn't work. If you went to lunch for 2 hours, truly chronicle what you're doing. And again, I think when you start running those hours, if people will commit to getting up earlier than they do, if they'll commit to, I have to, the language you use when it's a job, why are you going to work tomorrow? It's a Sunday, right? And you're watching the Super Bowl. Why are you going to work tomorrow on Monday? I have to. Right? Well, why do you have to? I could lose my job. Okay, that's cool. All right, so I'm an independent contractor. It's a Sunday. And Monday is a work day. You working tomorrow? No, I don't have to. Well, yeah, you do. You have to, or you're not going to be able to have the financial situation that you want. You have to, unless you decided that you were going to go ahead and work an extra day previously and adjust that. That's different, but you have to. I have to work 40 hours a week. Why do you work 40 hours a week? Because I have to. Okay, as an independent contractor, you have to. So if you're asking me, how do I become successful? They have to be have-tos. These things got to become non-negotiable. When you do all the little things right and you become great at them, you'll dominate. You don't have to do all the hard things really well. Matter of fact, I have no problem with not doing all the hard things really well. I do all the easy things really, really well. So if you can do that, if you can make sure that no matter what, you stay focused on the process. If you know what you're supposed to do dialing, you know what you're supposed to do running appointments, you know what you're supposed to say in the home, don't deviate from that. If it's not working, you're going to tweak some things. At the end of the day, you know your game, you know your program, you know what you have to do when you're out in the field. You got to go do it. When you're out at night and you're running your appointments and so something that comes up, no, I have to run my last appointments. Now for me, when I would say like, okay, why do you have to? Because I have a client and I never know who's going to die. My position was I never ever am going to blow off appointment. Not, just too far away, it's too late, because I never know who's going to die. I could never imagine saying that's at 9 o'clock at night, I'm 2 hours away, it'll take me 45 minutes, by the time I get home it'll be 11:45 midnight. I could never imagine not running an appointment and that person gets sick or dies because I didn't think I had to or I have to. If you can turn all the things that really should be have tos and had tos into those, 2019 will far exceed your expectations. Andrew Taylor, the group you had on stage at the lead seminar was outstanding, and I'm going to turn over to him so you can hear from some of his producers, and a lot of them are newer, and what they're doing, yes, what took away from convention, but also some in-home tips and some things that will help make you much more profitable. Let's make it a big week, a great month, and a phenomenal year. It's your time, all in, but it's have to. I appreciate it, guys. It's all yours, Andrew.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Andrew Taylor. Thanks for joining us today. I'm the guest host for the Next Level Call. We have an exciting topic, and we just came off of a really exciting event. We had our national conference, and I just want to take a minute to thank Sean Mike and Family First Life because they paid for the event 100% for the agent, so it was free. And I got a call today, and the guy goes, dude, that event changed my life. And he goes, I paid $10,000 for an event last year, and this one was way better. And no one charged me for it.
That's crazy.
And I was like, that's pretty awesome. So I just want to thank Family First Life, thank the staff. They worked like 24 hours straight every day there. Everybody pitched in. It was an awesome event, and look forward to growing again this year and continuing to break records every month. I have three special guests with me. We have Brittany Smart, Elaine Flinchbaum, and Brittany Hall. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the in-home presentation. So at the conference, everyone loved hearing about the leads and how to call them and what to say. And so we decided to take it a little step further and go through what we do in the in-home. Before we do that, I want to introduce them and have them tell you guys a little bit about themselves and what they did to start with Family First Life. So Brittany Smart, we're going to start with you. What brought you to Family First Life, and how's it going?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me here, Andrew. Conference was amazing. The energy that was there, there was so much good feedback that I got from so many people that attended. It was just a really amazing event. And thank you, Sean. As you said, thank you, Sean, to all the staff. That was my first time attending, and it was something that I will never forget as being a rookie last year. So,
and by the way, Rookie of the Year. One of them. Congrats. How much did you pay your first year last year?
$213,000.
Nice.
Some change, yeah. So I was actually really, really skeptical about selling insurance. So before I came over to Family First Life, I worked for another insurance company, and I was pretty much like done with selling insurance. I was retiring, and a good friend of mine, Albert Lau, had said, hey, I found this insurance company. I really think that this is a good opportunity. I think you could do well here. And I was really skeptical. I really didn't have a lot going on last year. It was either come to Family First Life or move to Jamaica. So I actually put in a resume. Like, I sent my resume over to like 3 different companies, and they wouldn't hire me. So in Jamaica.
Wow.
So I decided to stay here.
I thought you were just going on vacation.
No, I wanted to move. So I decided to stay here, and it was the best decision that I could have made.
Awesome. Were you reluctant, or were you fearful in any way before you came, and did you have any hesitations about anything?
I was super hesitant. I drug my feet in the sand for the first 8 months. Honestly, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for Jack, if it wasn't for Albert, I definitely would have left. Flying to Connecticut in October, meeting Sean, that totally changed my business. But Jack called me every day. I quit on Jack 3 times, and he literally almost called me every day. And if he hadn't, I probably would have left.
Wow,
thank you, Jack.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Jack. All right, Elaine, what about you?
So I was first I want to say thank you, Sean, and the staff for putting on the conference. It was really amazing. I love seeing all the new agents that come. You leave there learning something that you knew. So, but I was really hesitant to start insurance. I originally thought it was really like a male-dominant industry, So that kind of kept me from...
Clearly it's not.
No, it's not at all. And that's when, so when I did start, and then I've been a stay-at-home mom for the last about 8 years. So I was scared to even get back into the workforce. But I'm happy that I did, and I honestly couldn't do it without Trey. So thank you, Trey.
And how long have you been selling insurance for?
For 4 months.
So we got like a year and a half with us, 4 months.
Yes.
And how's your experience been? What have you been doing per month?
So it was a little tough going. I'm very part-time because, like I said, I have a family. So my kids, I still take them to school, volunteer at the school and stuff. So I'm able to work my schedule around them. So that was a really nice thing. And last month I issued 20K. So that was exciting.
Yeah. Part-time?
Part-time, yeah. I run 2 days a week and I run about 12 appointments.
In the 2 days?
In the 2 days, yes.
Good for you.
Yes.
Can't wait to see what you do if you go full-time.
Hopefully, soon.
All right, cool. And Brittany, what about you?
Yeah, I was skeptic. I came from, I was, working in a fire and water restoration company, managing that for the owner, and I was salaried, so my pay was the same every single week. I knew to the penny what I was getting paid, whether I worked 5 hours or I worked 40 hours. So coming into this where I was going to be, 1099, it was based off of, being in sales and stuff. I was extremely reluctant. I mean, it took me, 2 years before I finally made the jump into FFL full time.
Did you wish you did it earlier?
Yeah, that's probably, I definitely wish I did it a lot sooner. I would have probably done it right away had I have known the success and what it would have brought to us. But
Awesome. All right, so what we're going to go over today, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. The first one is about building rapport in the home. So a lot of new agents, they probably think like if they book an appointment, when they get there, what do they say and what do they do, And do you build rapport, like, do you pretend like you really like the stuff in their house, or what do you say when you get there? And how do you get them to trust you? Because this is the whole thing is if they trust you, then they're going to let you help them. So we'll start with you, Brittany. What do you do when you get there, like, to build rapport with them and get them to trust you?
I think the number one thing for me is familiarity. So when I walk through the door, like if I'm seeing you, Andrew, I'm walking in like we're old friends. I'm sitting close to you. I'm pretty much, when I walk through the door, I take control. I'm already walking toward the kitchen table or wherever it is we're sitting. I'm looking you in the eye. There's a lot of eye contact. I'm smiling, and I come in with a lot of energy. So it's nothing that I do in the home I think is fake. It's all very genuine. And it's just having a genuine conversation. It's not, setting up my stuff and like going to battle. It's just a genuine conversation. I'm here to help you. I think clients generally, they understand that.
So your rapport is I'm here to help you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you say I like that, picture on your wall? Or if there's something you genuinely like, do you talk about it? Do you talk about their dogs or animals or anything? Or does it have to just be genuine if you're genuinely interested?
I mean, I think like something like that, something, a nice picture might trigger it, or like right now in Hesperia, it's like crazy windy, and I'll say like, geez, like, sorry, Andrew, my hair is probably a mess because it's like the Wizard of Oz out here, or something like that. Because open up with like a corny joke, and just kind of let them see my personality, show a little humility.
And so you go in, tell them you're going to help them, get set up, be really fluid and genuine, and go through the options for them.
And I ask a lot of questions along the way. I don't just start off with taking 10 to 15 minutes to build rapport and tell them how much I like the carpet, how much I like the hardwood floor. I'm not really doing that. I'm building rapport along the way, and I'm asking them questions. I love to know, like, where did you grow up, Andrew? Are you from Hesperia? How many, do you have siblings? Are you married? How long have you been married? And I love sitting with a husband and wife, because one of my questions is always, okay, I'm dying to know, how did you guys meet?
That's big.
Okay, and then they look at each other and they're all starry-eyed, and they love to tell the story, and it kind of breaks the barrier between me as a woman coming into another woman's house. Maybe there's like a threatening type of aspect, and oftentimes not. Women are like really great and they can be really genuine, but sometimes there's cattiness, but it's just a way to kind of let them know, like, hey, I'm here on your side. I'm an advocate for you. I'm here to help you guys. And I always let them know that.
Awesome. How about for you, Elaine?
So I'm a little, I guess, old school. When I do come into a house, usually it's the animals, the dogs, the cats
That's
that
what
come
I
up
do.
to me.
Well, I hate.
I don't like
cats.
cats, but I pretend I do. The dogs, they do come up to me and I'm like, oh, I love your dog. Or they're like, oh, I'm sorry about the dog climbing. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I have two at home. They sleep with me, no big deal. So I do that. Or if they don't have animals, I am kind of like, oh, this is such a beautiful area. It's such a beautiful home. I try to find anything and ask them how long they've been there. If they're just moving in, I tell them like, oh, how's the move been? I tell them like, oh, I hate moving, having to move all the boxes and everything like that. And then I just go right into my in-home. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything that you did, because you've only been working for 4 months, is there anything you did that early on that you had to stop doing? Or
Yes, I would talk a little too much. And then I felt like it would take forever. Yeah, it would take forever to transition into the in-home. I think that after that, they just wanted to talk to me. Like, it was just kind of like, oh, like, she's here to talk. So it was hard to transition, but I've stopped doing that.
Did you ever become their friend too much?
Yes, I've done that as well, where they're like hugging me, telling me, oh, you need to come over and visit. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, well, let's transition. And then they're just like, well, I'm going to think about it. Or, no, I don't think this is a good idea right now. And then I'm like, I should not have talked as much as I did.
Yeah, so I had this lady come up to me at the conference. She goes, hey, how do you not become their friend in the home? Because I went on this appointment and we became best friends. And I go to all the family barbecues and birthday parties and everything. And I go, has she bought yet? And she goes, no, she hasn't bought yet. How should I close her? And I go, oh, it's too late. You can't close her. So that's a good tip. So you're nice, but not becoming their best friend, and you do get straight down to business.
Yes, exactly. Like, my rapport now is maybe like 30 seconds. And then I'm like jumping right into my in-home.
Awesome. How about for you, Brett?
Yeah, mine's the same. I'm not spending more than 2 minutes on rapport when I go in. I like cars, so I'll kind of see if they have any cool car in the yard. But I usually, walk in and I'm like, you guys have a beautiful home here. How long have you guys been here? Was this did you just buy it or was it a refinance for you? If they say they just purchased it, I'm like, oh, did it take you guys a long time to find it, or was this like your dream home? And then kind of go into that, and I'm like, that's, perfect. And then from there, I'll transition into, why I'm here and getting down to business. So I don't build too much rapport, and I'm kind of like Brittany also. As I'm going through the financial inventory, there's little things that I'm doing and stuff throughout it to build rapport.
Do you notice a lot of people that fill this out, someone recently passed away that they know?
Yeah.
And do you ever ask them, like, what happened?
Yeah, I'll ask them if they've ever had anyone who's had this coverage in place and it helped them out, or had someone who didn't have this coverage in place and was in a tough situation, and what that looked like for the family.
Does that bring the emotion out?
Yeah, it's part of the process of bringing the emotion
and remind them why they filled it out?
Yes.
Have you ever noticed that, like, if someone close to you dies, you're freaked out, like you realize how precious life is, but then like a month later you forgot and you're like doing whatever you want, like you're, like you can't die?
Yeah,
Right.
you like go back to routine and normal.
And you completely forget. Yeah, so that's why I always try to get them to remember that.
No, that's
So
the point.
that's awesome. Okay, so that's building rapport. I like to talk about the stuff most people don't talk about, because my whole thing is we want to prepare agents for everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We want to tell them the good, the bad, and prepare them to be profitable with, and it's not bad, it's just business.
Right.
So I want to ask you guys about, after you go in and you help a client, if they call you and they cancel, what's the protocol? Do you try to save it over the phone? Do you go see them? And if you do go see them, what do you do? I'm going to start with you, Brittany.
So when that happens, I always answer the phone. Always answer the phone
That's
when my
huge.
clients call. When I am in the home before I leave, I generally put their number in my phone. I always add their birthday, because my commitment to them is you're probably going to hear from me on your next birthday. And I really try to do that. Makes a huge difference too. But not only that, when a client calls me, I actually have their number in my phone. Hey Andrew, what's up? You're my client now. I should have your number. So if Andrew tells me, hey Brittany, something came up, we just our car broke down, we can't afford this policy. Really sorry to hear that, Andrew. No problem. I'm going to be back out that way next week. I'll see you on Friday. If he tells me he wants to cancel, I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear why or anything. I'm just going to go straight there because I can save something, I think, better in person than I can over the phone.
Have you ever tried to save it over the phone and realize it doesn't work?
Yes. I made that mistake probably numerous times.
So what if I said, why do I have to come over?
Well,
Or why do you have to come over?
When you got into the insurance contract, Andrew, you signed something, correct? I have a coverage form that releases our liability if you want to cancel your coverage. You're basically saying that you're okay with having no coverage, which is fine, but I'm going to need you to sign that, okay? So I'll be out there on Friday.
Yeah, I always go, I'm coming out to get you to sign something to make sure they don't bill you if you don't want it. They go, oh, come on right over.
That's a good.
Yeah,
Right now.
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay. Now, once you get there, what do? So I want to cancel. You show up. What happens?
Well, we're probably going to talk about the reason why you took out the policy in the first place. That's what I like to do. I'm not really asking you about the reason why you want to cancel, and then I'm probably going to talk to you about something else. How's your family doing? Did you ever have that leg surgery? And then, it's going to be pretty much everything besides the cancellation.
And then you bring it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you usually find that it's something different? What is it usually? What's usually the reason they want to cancel?
In my experience, it's always that clients want attention. And here's the thing, I think I've made mistakes in the past where when I'm in the in-home, I'm crazy about relationships. So I'll say, I'll call you in a week to make sure that I follow up with you and to make sure you receive your policy. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, if I haven't done that, that's the client that tells me that they want to cancel because I didn't do what I said I was originally going to do.
That's good. How about for you?
So I was originally really intimidated about cancellations. When people would call me, I would be like, oh no, I'm just going to let them leave a message. And then I'll call them back tomorrow. I wouldn't even listen to the message. I was terrified. So actually, before conference, I had somebody call me. I answered the phone, and she said that her husband wanted to go ahead and cancel his policy. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm leaving out of town. I'll be back. I'll call you Sunday as soon as I get back. I'll come out Monday so we can go ahead and cancel it. And so I was just going to call them and cancel it over the phone. But actually, when Paul did his training, he said that, when he gets I'll think about it. We just moved in. We need to think about our bills. And he was just kind of like, well, usually people in your situation, their family's their first priority. So they work everything else around the life insurance. I was just kind of like, well, I need to position that. So I actually saw them yesterday. And I was intimidated. And I actually learned something from Andrew at a training. And you were like, first have them sign a cancellation. So it takes
talk about that, yeah.
Yeah, so it takes all of because you're not trying to sell them at that point. If you give them something to sign, tell them, okay, it's canceled. They're just kind of like, okay. They feel a little at ease. They feel like you're not trying to keep it. You're not going to force them into keeping it or talk them into keeping it. So I had them sign that, and then I was just kind of like, so what's the reason you guys are canceling anyway? And then the husband was, I just don't believe in life insurance. I feel like I can take this $130 and put it into a savings account. And I took something from Brian Mendenhall, and I was just like, okay, so can I be completely honest? I told you I was going to be honest from the beginning, whether we disagreed, agreed, or we were indifferent. And I was just like, are you saving $130 every month just in case something happens to you? And he was just like, well, no. I was like, you're 70 years old and you haven't done it yet. What makes you think you're going to start doing it now? And it was really hard for me because I'm not a huge direct person. Well, his wife was just like, no, we're going to keep it. He was just kind of like, okay. He was just like, well, also, and his wife was like, no, we're going to keep it. She was like, I have an insurance policy. If something happens to me, you're taken care of. She was just like, well, you don't want to get one, but we're keeping it. She's like, even if I have to pay it. Wow. So I was just like, all right, it worked.
And did you rip up the cancellation letter?
I did not do that. I just put an X and put it in my folder. So it worked out really well. So I was like, I was a little intimidated, but I'm glad that. See, I learned something from conference. The training. I learned something from you in the training, so it was really amazing.
So you're paying attention.
I was.
And see how much it helped.
It did. I was taking notes like crazy, and I reread the notes. And I was crazy how just even a day later it helped.
That's awesome. How about you, Britt?
Yeah, I answer the phone. If I don't, it goes to voicemail. I call them back right away, though. I'm never waiting too long. One of my things I tell them is I'll get back to you within 24 hours if you ever do call me. So when they call to cancel, I keep it, really simple over the phone, no problem. I just got to swing back out there to get this taken care of for you. And I just go back out there. I'll bring back out my financial inventory sheet so I can recap over, the details and stuff that we went through, and I'll just, reiterate, kind of like Brittany said, why we got this coverage in the first place. Hey, Bob, you told me, when Mary dies that she was losing $5,000 a month. Like, what's changed since then? What are we going to do? What if we don't get this coverage in place? What does that look like? And most of the time what I found is it's actually just been a budget issue. Like maybe they went a little bit too high on the premium and it was a little bit uncomfortable for them.
And you can back it down.
Yeah, so I tell them no problem. The most important thing is that this is here when your family needs it the most, and the only coverage that's going to be there is the one you guys can afford. So let's go ahead and bring this coverage down so that we can have you guys some coverage in place. And then when I go out and do my annual review, if they're still comfortable with it, then I'll go ahead and add on the additional coverage.
What percentage of the time do you save a policy if they wanted to cancel?
I'd probably say 60% of the time.
Pretty high, right?
Yeah.
Is it usually something that's like they're confused about that doesn't actually make sense canceling?
That's a part too, is, they say like as soon as you leave, they forget like 80% of what you told them. So I'll reiterate, the coverage. Hopefully by that time they actually have their policy in place. So then I'll go through their policy and be like, hey, remember I told you it's got this, and this in it. Because everyone just wants to, they don't understand the coverage, so I reiterate and go through it with them to make sure that they understand everything and that there's no questions.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so I'm going to ask a kind of a crazy question. Most people would try to hide this, but we've been talking a lot about telling everyone the truth and preparing the right way and teaching agents how to prepare the right way and teaching them what to expect. So one of my questions is, what's the biggest chargeback you've ever gotten?
I don't know, like 3,600.
Okay, were you freaked out? Were you okay with it?
I mean, I already had a background in insurance, so it didn't scare me. But what did scare me when I was new was the fact when I had a chargeback sitting there for maybe like a week or two, then it creeps up because when you stop working, that's a scary thing because the chargeback doesn't go away.
And so as long as you kept working, it wasn't a big deal for you?
Correct. I know we were talking about this earlier, but when you're constantly working, you're feeding the flow. You have a pipeline. You're feeding business, so it's okay. One of the things that I talked to a couple of top producers at conference actually, and one of the things they said was, and you'll hear this a lot, I'm sure, with top producers, but the key to getting to Hall of Fame is the consistency. Consistency. That's one of the biggest things I heard.
Are you going to be Hall of Fame?
I will be.
This year?
Yes, 2019.
400,000 issue paid.
Correct.
Right jacket.
Yay.
Nice.
And I think these guys will be too.
Me too. I definitely will.
All right, Elaine, you're newer. Have you got a chargeback? Has it freaked you out? What's your experience?
I did. I got a chargeback. I've gotten like small chargebacks and I was like, okay, but I got a $2,200 chargeback and that freaked me out. I was like, what am I gonna do? I'm working for free. But going back to conference, Mark Mead said you have to outwork your situation, and that stuck to me, and now I'm like not going to freak out as much when I get a chargeback. I'm just going to keep working and hopefully.
Now, did it affect your performance, because it bothered you, so it affect your dials, you seeing people? Did it handicap you in a way?
I think it did. I was more desperate. I saw that chargeback, and so I think in the home and on the phone.
And you think people can feel that?
Yes, definitely. People can definitely feel if you're desperate and you need to make a sale.
And you experience that? Yes,
because you're taking the serving people and you're no longer serving, you're trying to sell them, and they can totally feel that. And at that point,
it's almost like they could feel it, you don't even have to talk, right?
Exactly. They could feel I wouldn't say aggressiveness, because I'm not a very aggressive person, but they can feel like the sales end of it.
No, it's like the universe, they just can feel it.
Yeah. No.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's true.
But if you're really genuinely there to help them, they can feel that too.
As well, exactly, because they feel like you're there to serve them. You're there to be, like Brittany said, an advocate for them. You're there to help them in any way because you want to better their situation if something does happen to either one of them.
It's transfer of energy.
Mm-hmm. No, that's 100%, yeah.
And it's real. So I always called it commission breath. Like when I was newer, they could smell that I needed to make a commission.
Yeah.
And then what fixed that though was running so many appointments that I wasn't desperate to make a sale because I had more people to see. That's what fixed it for me when I didn't have a lot of money. It wasn't having money, it was having options.
Yeah.
So increasing my appointments, if I would never feel desperate. If I only had one appointment though, or 2 or 3 appointments, I always felt desperate.
Yeah, and then you also, if you get that 1 or 2 or 3, one of them's going to cancel, one of them's not going to be home, and then one of them's going to be a no sell, and then you're going to go home and you're going to be like, yeah, you definitely need to have a lot of appointments. That's
How about you, Britt? What's your biggest cancellation?
My biggest was a couple that totaled probably about $5,300. And my first chargeback was scary. I think I called you and I'm like, Andrew, I have to call him and give him my credit card number, and you're like, no, go run more appointments.
Yeah. So to be clear,
you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay it back.
They take it from your future commissions.
Right. But yeah, just touching off of what Brittany said. I mean, now at this point, I honestly don't even notice chargebacks because I just keep running and have so many, appointments and have so many new policies going through and stuff to where I honestly don't notice them. They don't bug me anymore. I know it's part of the business. And
now, what'd you do early on to keep your head on straight when that was bothering you?
I just have to step back. I mean, one thing I do that I've learned from Paul McLean, and I think just something like talking to all you guys and just hearing that we all take a little bit from everyone is just like awesome. Like that, everything that I do is just a little bit of pieces I've taken from everyone. But like Paul McLean always did like a minute review in the car before he went into the home, and that's what I do because you really got to step back. Remind yourself this isn't about you; it's about them. You're here to protect them and put them in a better situation, and that's what helps me a lot.
Now, have you ever had a chargeback and that like 5 people not be home in a day or not let you in the door, and then have 2 people from the week before cancel?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you protect your mind to not make it affect that next person? And did it used to bother you and it doesn't anymore, and what changed?
It used to bother me, and it would affect my sales and stuff at home. Like you said, I'd have commission breath. I'd be desperate. I'd be needing a sale, and I just wouldn't come off the way that I needed to. And now it's just, I just really don't try not to make it about me. I'm just out here serving people and helping them out, and luckily we get paid a lot of money for it. But I just believe in my heart that like I'm putting them in a better position, and I'm the person between them being homeless and not being homeless, or them holding a car wash or not holding a car wash, So that's how I look at it when I go in the home.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And I think that what you're doing is, I think what's happening is we all build a tolerance over time to where you have to kind of go through that scary part.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize that the numbers always work out and it no longer scares you. And the reason I like to talk about this is because I like agents to know, because a new agent came up to me at the conference. He's like, how'd you sell so much? And you're so good. You must be so good. And I'm like, dude, I got the same problems you do. I guarantee you I do. I have the same, bad thoughts. I could go, my mind can go to a dark place easily. I can go negative really fast. I have the same people telling me the same things. I have the same no-shows, but I just consistently do it. And over time, I've built a tolerance to where it doesn't bother me if somebody tells me no or cancels, because I know I did everything I could to help them. I go back and I save like 50% of them, and only around 20% of people cancel anyways, right? Yeah. But the ones that do, I go back and see them, and I do everything I can to help them. And if I did everything, I sleep well at night knowing I did everything, right? And the numbers always end up working out. So it's pretty cool to let an agent know it's okay to go through this. And my friend, I don't hang out with him that much anymore, but he was training drinking to go to Cancun for spring break, and every week he would drink a little bit more. So by the time he got there, he could drink more than anybody. So, and I was like, that's kind of like chargebacks for me. At first it was a big deal, and then my tolerance started getting built up, and it's no longer a big deal. Now I want to tell you guys this. I had a $28,000 chargeback. Okay. Now, I believe this was the best thing that ever happened to me. And the reason why is because once I went through that $28,000 chargeback, nothing could affect me anymore.
Yeah, that's easy after that.
Yeah, like what's going to hurt me after that,
Yeah.
you know? So it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me, because prior to that, I would go into homes and I'm like, if I could deal with that, like if someone wants to cancel, I just act like normal. It's very fluid and end up saving the policy.
Yeah.
Because they can tell I'm genuinely just trying to help them. All right, so I kind of want to tell you guys real quick before I ask you the next question, something funny. So an agent, Zach Luffles, is that how you say his name? Zach Luffles?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So he's hilarious, but I
Yes.
heard him telling a new agent how he sells Facebook leads, and one of the Facebook ads on the computer, it's a lady crying over a casket, okay? And he's like, yeah, I buy the ones where the lady's crying over the casket, and when I get there, I say, hey, ma'am, or Mr. or Mrs. Smith, whatever, if you guys don't get this, she's gonna be crying over a casket. And if you do get it, she's going to be on a cruise. That's pretty simple, and that's really good.
That's good.
All right, so the next thing I want to ask you guys is, what do you, like when you get in the home, you show them everything, how do you get them to pick an option that you showed them? Like, what do you say to get them to go, oh, that one works for me, or whatever the situation is? What's that transition there for you?
So I write everything out on paper, and I'll show generally 2 to 3 options. Usually it's like 2 options for mortgage protection, and I'll go over the protection, make sure they understand how it works, and then I write out the living benefits, and I usually go pretty hard on the living benefits and explain a lot of that. And ask you, if on your mom or your dad's side they have a history of heart attack, cancer, stroke, anything like that. So I kind of get to know your family history there and press on those points there. And then once you're in agreement, you understand everything, I'm wrapping it up. It's basically just like, so which option, Andrew, is most comfortable for you? And then I shut up and let you talk.
And you let me, and I go, okay, that one, then what do you say?
And I say nothing else. So after that option, okay, driver's license and bank information.
Okay, now, you talked about living benefits. I have to go back. Like, what are you selling living benefits? What do you say?
So when I'm not in California, since we can't do a lot of the living benefits for Americo, for HMS in California, I love running business in Vegas, dude, because chronic illness, critical illness, terminal illness, obviously we have in California,
Okay.
but on my sheet, I write all of that out. So I will put little bullet points, chronic illness, critical, terminal, and then as I'm going through that, I kind of explain all the benefits of that as well. When we're looking at mortgage, I will generally refer to my mortgage plans as equity plans because they're building cash in it, and at the end of their term, they're getting money back. So I always relate that to leasing versus renting. And you're a homeowner, Andrew, right? So you understand the importance of leasing versus owning, correct?
Yes.
Correct. So when I show them these, it makes sense, and
That's good.
And if I say I want that one, you say?
driver's license and bank info.
Right, that's what you say. I need your driver's license and banking info.
Yeah.
And they go, okay.
Yeah, because I've already explained to them at the beginning of the presentation what I'm there to do. We're going to go over your medical history. I don't do the sales or the billing part, Andrew. I just help you get qualified. If we can find something today that matches your needs and your budget, I'm going to help you take an application to see if we can get approved. Now, I don't know right now if we can get approved, but I can get you approved before I walk out of your home.
Nice. All right, how about you?
So I just go, when I'm showing the 3 options, I show 3 options, and I just tell them, I think I got it from Paul. I don't, like I said, I'm a local field underwriter. I can't get you a final decision today. So if we do find which one of these, if you were to qualify, which one of these would make the most sense to you? And then I show them the 3 options, and they pick one. And then I go, okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a request for coverage in. I need to see your driver's license, and I need either a voided check or you can know your account information. That's fine as well.
Awesome. How about for you, Brett?
I write down all the options, kind of like her. Like if I'm selling like Eagle Premier, I'll write down 30,000 for the levels, 30,000 for the accidental, 30,000 for the common carrier. So I try to write down as many points to it as possible. I'll even write down level payments, 20 years, pay out all that, get them to agree, say yes and stuff, that they understand all that. And then my process is I'll tell them, look, I can't make any final decisions. I don't know if you're going to be approved or not. But the goal is to, if you are approved, is to find the one that fits your needs and your budget. Because what most people need to think about is not whether they need the coverage or not. We've already established that if you die, your wife's going to be in a bad situation. Most of what they need to think about is what their budget is. So which one of these fits your budget? And if you're approved, then we can go over the different options.
Does that put them at ease when you're saying, like, let's make it affordable for you?
Yeah, I tell
you feel
them
like it does, because you're not saying let's spend the most money possible. You're saying make sure this is affordable.
Right, and even if like sometimes they're going for the high one, but they're a little bit iffy, I'll say, you know what? Most people in your situation, they go with the middle one and they keep it for a few months, and then they determine if they want to raise it, because it makes more sense to start here than to start too high and not be able to keep it in place. And then I think by saying, we can't make any final decisions, and then by saying, by taking that off the table, like most people need to think about it. It's not whether they need the coverage, it's usually budget issues. That's helped me release a lot of that I need to think about it option, because I just literally told you need to think about it, so.
That's
good.
That's really good.
Yeah, so it's just taken me back to like all these appointments when I would go, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let's assume you had the worst month ever. Your son broke his arm. You got a flat tire. You need to get a rental car. Is this option still going to be comfortable for you? And what's funny is they start selling me on how they can afford more, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I could do the bigger one. But the whole point is you're really trying to help them keep something long term, so they trust you, right? And then they want to buy from you. All right, so we got a lot of a couple other really good questions, so I want to get through this next one because I think it's the most popular. And it is the good old, what do you do when they say, hey, Brittany, thanks for coming, you're awesome, come back to my barbecue next week. You're part of the family now, but we need to think about it.
I actually hate barbecues, Andrew. Yeah, we need to do this today.
Is that really what you do?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I kind of want to know, like, okay, we've been in agreement so far, Andrew. You understand how not having this impacts your family. You obviously knew that you guys really needed this when you sent in the form. So what is it that you need to think about? So generally I'll ask open-ended questions because I want to know what's going on in your head. And a lot of people I've realized won't tell me it's the money. It's like really the money number one, but it's like the fifth or sixth thing they're going to tell me until we finally just have a conversation. And usually it's just a conversation.
Do you ever say, is there anything you can reallocate, like money you spend at the gas station every week on snacks, or beer, or lotto tickets, or is there anything you can not spend money on so that you can do this because we've established how important this is
Absolutely,
for you?
that's really good. Mm-hmm.
So you do kind of paint that picture for them?
Yep.
Now, if you're using the return of premium, do you go, hey, this is a savings account anyways?
Yep.
Yeah, so this client that I had a few weeks ago, he goes, well, I'll just save that money because I want access to it. And I go, okay, how much money do you have in savings? He goes, about, 2,000. And I go, okay, you're 52. So this is actually good for you because you don't need access to your money because you need it for when you retire.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So this is actually good for you that you don't have access to the return of premium. And he's like, you know what, that's a good point. I need to put money aside that I can't touch. Mm-hmm. He goes, let's go ahead and do this. Aside from the protection, he's saving money with the return of premium option.
And it is true when clients sometimes give you that objection of I need to think about it. Sometimes we haven't done our jobs and really identifying what it is you really need. Maybe I'm overshooting the moon, or maybe I'm not even showing you enough coverage and you're underwhelmed. So really understanding what a client needs is really going to help at that end when you're closing to not get that.
So like cancellations, I was also really intimidated by. I had to think about it. I think the first few appointments where I had to think about it, I was like, okay, I'll call you in a week, and I'd leave, and then I'd never call again. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, there's really nothing that you need to think about. There's some clients that I'll let them know that they've been approved in the home. I'm like, oh, they've approved you. I kind of go off of how the conversation's going. But majority of my clients, I tell them, I'll call you once I'm gonna know in about a week. And I'll call you whether or not you've been approved or not. And then I was like, if they approve you, they'll mail you the policy. But when I get that, I'm like, there's really nothing to think about because we need to figure out if you're even approved. If they do decide to approve you and qualify you, then we'll go ahead, they'll mail you the policy. I was like, call me as soon as you get the policy. I'll come out, I'll go over the policy with you. And then at that point, we'll go ahead and decide if we need to lower the coverage or we need to increase the coverage if you're comfortable where it's at. I never bring up if we need to cancel it if you decide not to do it. So that's kind of how I handle it now, and it's been working, so.
Awesome.
It's very good.
My process is I really try to take the think about it off the table, like I said beforehand. And I do that by letting them know, like, we're applying for coverage or we're declining coverage up front. And then also kind of like how I said, you know, most people, you know, I know you need to think about it. Most people do. They don't need to think about whether they have coverage. Usually it's whether it fits their budget or not. So what I need you to do is pick the no-brainer number, the one that's not going to give you like night sweats, make you vomit when you think about paying it every month, like the one that's going to be comfortable with you because the most important thing is that this fits your budget. So that's how I usually approach it. I think one thing that's really helped is like me addressing things, like me saying things like they need to think about it. I'm sure, you know, you need to think about it. It's usually about budget, putting that on the table beforehand because I really take the power away from it. When I was in a debating class, because I was going to be a lawyer, that was one thing.
Look like a lawyer.
That was the one thing that they used to tell us was that you have to acknowledge what your opponent's going to say to you because it takes the power away from it. So if you bring it up before they can bring it up, then it takes the power away. Kind of like in 8 Mile, you know?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
So,
I was really kind of like Eminem.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Really quick, you sold your first ReliaShield policy to yourself. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I just needed to get the protection. I mean, I think identity theft is like the #1 crime, like nationally across the board. So it's important. It's super cheap. It's like $8 a month, and they check your credit report, your credit score. They make sure if there's any fraudulent or dings against you. And if you ever have any fraudulent cases, they'll actually, you know, reimburse you and give you the money and stuff for it. So it was a no-brainer.
And it's 50% off if you're an agent to sign up. So they'll actually send you 50% of your money back if you sign up as an agent. Mm-hmm. Can you talk really quick about how to actually write one? What's the process like? How simple is it?
It was really simple, actually. All it asked for up front was my name, date of birth, and the debit card or credit card that I was paying with, and then it sent me an email, and then from the email I just logged back in and entered in my social. You can enter in whatever information you want, so you can put your driver's license number on there, your social. If you're doing the family plan, it'll send an email to your spouse if you want to add your kids on there. But it was literally like 5 minutes. It was the easiest thing I've ever done.
And how are you going to add that in the in-home to help your clients?
I'll just tell them, I'll ask them, you know, have you had anyone who's been a victim of identity theft, whether they've had like their debit card, you know, stolen or account number or anything? I'm sure we all have. I mean, so I'll just ask them that and just tell them, look, to protect your family, it's, you know, $7-8 a month, and you'll be protected. You'll never have to think about it.
Yeah, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, you know, we can give you insurance and this identity theft protection and I'm going to total it up and show them what the total is as a package. And the reason is because number one, a lot of people need it. Number two, it's not that much extra money, and it actually brings more value to what you're giving them, right?
Yep.
And so I signed up myself. It's very, very easy. Now the cool thing is the commission. So you get to help them, but you get paid 25% commission every single year for as long as they keep it, which I had LifeLock before I switched over because it was better and more affordable. I had LifeLock, and I've had it for years and years and years and years. I would never cancel it.
It's $8 a month. Wow.
Now it's $8 a month, but you can get a family plan. You can add your kids. It can be $50 a month for everybody, and well worth it. And it also does certain things. It monitors your kids' social media, not social security. Your kids' social media, and if somebody says a bad word on your kids' social media or anything
really
weird,
cool.
it actually sends it to the parents. There's a whole bunch of extra features that are definitely worth it.
That's really cool.
But also putting more money in agents' pockets and creating small little things like annuities or whatever, like retire little things. This can be over the next 20 years. You write thousands of these, you're going to have millions of dollars in renewal income coming in. So it's pretty exciting. So if you're an agent, sign up. People will not buy what you don't have on yourself. So sign up today. If you have any questions, I know they sent an email to me and it kind of gave me the instructions on the login. If you didn't get that, reach out to your manager and we will definitely get everybody the information on how to start writing Real Life Shield this week. Lastly, to wrap this thing up, if we can go over like one or two things that we all learned at conference that we weren't doing before. Like, you know what, I could change this and I could do this better, and it kind of hits you at conference. So we'll start with you, Brittany.
I would say for me, this sounds really like elementary level, but it's just running more appointments. Like I said, I took a lot from some of the producers like offline after the conference. And I just realized, like, for example, working on the weekends, you know, I run right now 2 days a week in Vegas. So instead of running 2 days a week, I need to run maybe 4 or 5, you know, simple things like that I took back from conference.
Awesome.
I think one of the biggest things I learned was, I think what Mark Mead said when he said just outwork your situation, just because on the hiring side of it, a lot of these people that you're talking to are in terrible situations. They're just trying to look for something that's going to pay them so that they can put food on the table for their family. And so it's really nice to be able to be like, well, I was in that situation and I was able to outwork it, and now I'm in a way better situation. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I took from it.
So don't stop working. You can outwork your situation no matter how bad it is.
Yep, just buy more leads, set more appointments, and you can outwork basically any situation.
See more people, help more people.
Exactly.
Cool. How about for you, Britt?
Yeah, I loved Tom Hegna. I mean, I've annuities is one of the things that I'm working on, and it seemed to be like, you know, one of the first times it actually resonated on like exactly, you know, how to explain it and stuff. So that was really neat. And then just, you know, talking with other agents, again, you know, knowing that they all went through the same thing that I've gone through, their process and how they've gotten past that they had the same exact fears that I've had, and, you know, just how to just stay strong and keep, you know, charging towards my goals, and, you know, just doing the same thing day in and day out, and don't get too high, don't get too low, and, you know, just keep doing it.
Awesome. And I just want to wrap up with one thing that really like made a lot of sense to me was how much money FFL's giving away.
That
and
was
how
amazing.
So this like kind of like really screwed me up. So Sean, I remember the first year there's barely any agents with FFL. There's like maybe 100 or so, and I think he gave away $5,000, right? And his goal was to double what he gives away every year. So he's like, I'm gonna give away, you know, double. So this year he's at like I forgot what the number was, but he's at like $225,000 that he gave away in the 5th year. But he's like, I'm gonna double that every year. So he's like, I'm gonna give away, you know, double every year, and it's gonna get to $1 million that we're gonna give away. And I was thinking that's really cool. So I put my own goals together on like doubling what I'm gonna give away every year.
To get back.
And if you think about like that, I don't know why, but I believe like your business will continue to grow because you're giving back. And I love the goal of doubling, because if you double your team every year, you can double what you're going to give away every year, and you've doubled the people that you help every year. So I've put goals in to go, okay, I'm going to double every year what I'm giving away, and that really like hit close to home for me.
Yeah, that was really.
Lastly, I just want to thank again Family First Life for everything they've done. I think we all feel, would you guys agree, we all feel very blessed with
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
And all the staff, the staff is amazing.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to the future. And I think what we could say, well, I can say for me, what my goal is like what they've done for me to be able to do for other people.
Exactly.
So, with that being said, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.